Ladies and gentlemen, all rise. Court is back in session. Welcome to another exciting episode of The Devil's Due. I am your crackly voiced host, Carl Duty. With me, as always, is a man who is so metal, he doesn't even need to play a real guitar at his concerts. He just makes one out of cardboard. Mr. Drew Celestino.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing what you can do with cardboard, a little imagination, and a Nintendo Switch.
And $70. We'll get there.
Oh, yeah.
Here we are back again, folks. Thank you very much for joining us. I apologize for the way my voice sounds. There's been a slight cold going around my family, and I am the latest recipient of it. It's not too bad as far as, seasonal stuff goes, just, throat congestion. But when you talk on a podcast, it's kind of a bummer.
Yeah. My laryngitis from a couple weeks ago agrees with you.
Yes.
It was no fun.
No. Well, let's get to it. Opening statement, sir. How was your week?
It's been A-okay. I wouldn't say anything too over-the-top eventful has happened. Some usual Flair kind of stuff.
Ric Flair?
What's left of him was on Raw last night on the 25th anniversary show.
I saw some highlights from that on the YouTube.
There weren't that many, so, you could...
Yeah, it didn't seem to, really be a lot.
Look.
They brought out the general managers?
Which is fine, but if you're going to do that, can you give them something to do besides, smile and wave?
And
Eric Bischoff especially?
And I saw that they brought out, the female legends.
Oh, you mean the divas, not necessarily the female legends.
Which is all well and good.
Yeah, the ones from the bad era, where it was really, really terrible for a long, long time.
No Lita?
Yeah, how about that, huh?
Is she on the outs? I mean,
she was working for them like a few months ago.
I get no Sunny. I get that.
You could argue that they are saving Lita for a possible special appearance in the Women's Royal Rumble on Sunday, and they don't want to spoil the surprise. But at the same time, the omission is, the omission. It was very lame, and I'm also really, really over DX and their overstated importance.
I did think it was cool that they had it in the original location.
Yeah, it was cool.
That was cool.
You know who didn't think it was cool?
Who?
The people there. Do you know why?
Because nothing
happened. Those people paid $400 or more to be there, and all they did was 3 segments in that space while the show was happening at Barclays.
Ooh.
And they only had 2 TVs in the whole building to show them the show that was happening at Barclays.
Oh, that's messed up.
Yeah, they're not happy. Fans are not happy.
You're not a fan, DX?
I was when they were young. And it was fun. Now they're old guys trying to be... Look at me pointing at my crotch, and I'm 50-some years old.
Gotta say, though, really happy to see how good Razor Ramon is looking.
His name is Scott Hall, and he's okay.
Oh, yeah.
He's
compared to what he was.
He's much better off than he was, yes. Yeah. You know what I don't like to see, though?
What?
I don't like to see DX, this gang of guys in their 50s, put themselves over, yet again... over an up-and-coming team that H specifically built up in NXT. Hi, we're the Revival. Oh, we matter. Nope, you're squashed. Sorry, you're a goober. Anyone that was... I had a guy in my office today ask me what I thought about the show, and I brought that up, and he's like, dude, I didn't even know who those guys were, and based on the show last night, I guess I'm not supposed to care? And I'm like, no, they're really good. The Revival's really, really good. They're great wrestlers. But, yeah... we got to put 55-year-old Shawn Michaels and H over again. We got to make them look good. So screw you, future. Yay, old guys. And this is not the first time they've done that. What's the point of that?
I would simply come back to you and say, why are you still watching? Why are you still watching?
Because
it all comes back to why you still watching.
Because the first 30 minutes of the show were actually great. because the first 30 minutes was Vince and Shane and Austin, and it was awesome.
Okay.
So moments like that can sometimes make you go like, it's going to be okay. Nope, it's not. In fact, here, let me show you something real quick. I have it on my phone. This is an audio medium, but I'm going to show Carl here, and we'll tweet this out later. Here's something that I found amusing today, and I think you'll appreciate this because this explains my whole state of being.
Okay, so it's a triangle diagram. In the middle is the WWE logo. It's a triangle diagram in that there are arrows pointing in each direction. It's a flow chart. I get my hopes up. I get disappointed. I start to believe again. Repeat.
And the cycle repeats itself.
Yes. Yeah, we could throw that out on Twitter.
That's why, Carl. That's why. So the cycle continues.
So that was Monday night.
That was Monday night. Working backwards, Sunday I watched the first football game, which did not go very well. But then again, it wasn't going to go very well either way for me. So really, it was just a matter of which team that I loathe and despise was going to get to the Super Bowl, and one of them did. So
I was amused by people who thought the Jacksonville was going to win that game.
They could have won that game.
No, they couldn't have.
Sure, they could have.
No, they couldn't have.
They absolutely could have.
If Tom Brady stopped having a pulse and Bill Belichick had a massive brain aneurysm halftime, maybe.
They were behind in that game, and they were behind until a good point in the fourth quarter when they could have put that game away, and they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
They should have. They didn't.
Because
I've seen this story before. That was a winnable game by the Jacksonville Jaguars, and they completely tank jobbed it because, of course, they did.
They did kind of play not to lose. You can't really play that way. You got stay aggressive.
Nope. So, anyway, the demon spawn Patriots are back in the Super Bowl, and the entire world outside of the immediate New England area is Eagles fan for a day. So, and that pains me because I hate the Eagles and Philadelphia as a whole. But,
Do you hate the Eagles or just their fans?
I hate the Eagles, man.
What's wrong with the Eagles?
You're missing the Lebowski reference, but that's okay. It's okay. The Philadelphia fans are pretty.
Oh yeah, they're
the
horrible.
worst in sports.
You can easily say the two worst fan bases in football are in the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. That's that. Yep. Can't dispute that. Cowboy fan is bad, but no, not as bad as Eagle fan or Pats fan. Not any. Yeah. It's pretty bad. It's a dark timeline. I'm personally rooting for the asteroid to strike the building, but we'll see. Saturday had some long, cold, dark action going on. And we did something else on Saturday, and now, we had an impromptu fun evening out at Fuji Grill with some friends.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh man, I love me some hibachi. It's hard to go wrong. Do you know why hibachi's so awesome?
Why is that?
Because everything is made with butter and garlic and lots of it. It's really delicious. When you can see how the sauce is made, that's how the sauce is made.
Yeah.
Pound of butter, put the rice on there. Like, look at these vegetables. They're going to be really good. Yeah. Pound of butter, toss them around. Yeah. But excellent. Very excellent. Game night.
Game night had a bit of a snag.
Yeah, it happens. That's okay.
Yeah. I'm a big advocate of not trying to learn a new game on a game night. Learn the game first and then teach it to others.
If we don't learn the game on game night, it's never going to get learned.
Every new game I bring, I learn it first and then teach it.
I can't learn without playing it.
Yeah, you can kind of work it through for yourself. I mean, everyone's different. That's fine. But I mean, yeah, I guess the instruction booklet for that. What was that game called again?
Little Circus or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to work some kinks out on that one. Well, I'll look on the interwebs and see what's being said about it, because I'm willing to bet that we weren't the first ones that got kind of caught up in the indecipherable rule book. So
yeah,
whatever. I started playing Wolfenstein as well this week. Wolfenstein 2, that is. I have thoughts.
Okay.
It's a very highly rated game. Very, big pedigree. A couple hours into it, and I did enjoy the first one for the most part. but I also played the first one before Doom came out.
Okay.
I'm living in a post-Doom existence now, and I just actually got done playing my second playthrough of Doom on the Switch. I don't like Wolfenstein anymore. It's good in that, you know, it has high production value. It does things, you know, it
seems to be much more story driven, less
way
intense
more story
action.
driven, and it's got action. But the problem is, it's more like,
Does it have action, or does it have like Doom level action?
it has action, not Doom level action. So whereas Doom is just like balls to the wall, run and gun, or else. Wolfenstein's like you got to find cover. Stealth is usually preferred. I die a lot in this game, and I'm not having fun.
Well, it's kind of hard to downshift in a genre like that, to do one after another. You kind of went from Mad Max Fury Road to Driving Miss Daisy.
Kinda.
And that's a rough transition.
But like, you know, Wolfenstein and Doom are like, you know, historically anyway, it's peanut butter and jelly. Like,
oh yeah.
And I'm not feeling it here.
But original Wolfensteins weren't super story driven. It was just,
Yeah,
you know,
right.
Doom is essentially a reskinned Wolfenstein with more enemies.
Sort of, yeah.
You know, it wasn't until recently Wolfenstein went heavy in the story.
Yeah, true.
So it all depends on what. I think maybe if you had put a buffer in between Doom and Wolfenstein, you might have enjoyed it a little bit more.
I'm gonna keep at it, and I'm sure it'll kind of click with me. But I'm just, you know, you know what? Actually, I think it's happened to me in a way. A lot of the games I've played over the last few years have been very gameplay driven and experience driven versus story plot driven. And I think I'm at a point now where I'm like, and this could change, you know, if they put out a good Mass Effect game down the road, I'll be all in again. But I think I'm at a point now where spare me your melodrama, spare me your elaborate plot that you wrote for the game because you couldn't hack it in Hollywood or whatever. I want to play a game. I don't want to watch a game. That's just me. That's just where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
And I get why, and I do think that there is something to the rise of video games as a business from where it was when we grew up. There's definitely a correlation between the rise of the game and also the rise of cinematic experiences in games, which kind of relegated gameplay to a more secondary function and also made games a lot easier in a lot of instances as well. I want to play the game. I'd rather play it than watch it and then have bouts in between watching it where I get to do stuff and then watch more.
Yeah.
So that's
I could see what you're saying. I think there's a place for both.
There is.
I think it's all in what you're currently in the mood for.
Sure.
So
right now I need game. I want to play.
Yeah. I think you just downshift it a little too fiercely.
I suppose. But in any case, it's an interesting dichotomy, and it's a really interesting. It just considering what the games are: Doom, Wolfenstein.
Yeah.
Here's one. Here's the other. Compare.
They're the same.
It's
but
like
not.
Oh, but not at all.
Yeah.
It's quite the two sides of the same coin, and those two sides are very, very different from each other. So
the blueprints are the same. The execution is vastly different.
Vastly. So we'll see. I'm gonna keep at it, and we'll get there. We'll get there. I'm not gonna just hate on it, but just up front. Again, it's got high production values. Graphics are great. Sound is great. Control is great.
Like, is the story bad?
No, but I'm also not very far into the story yet, so
Okay.
we'll see where it kind of goes. But again, like, I don't know. I'm just not in the mood for a story right now. I don't know. I'm in the mood to like play a game and kill Nazis and stuff, which you get to do.
Yeah.
But you get to do that with a lot of like. There's points where you get to an area, and there's a time queued point where BJ Blazkowicz or whatever his name is, like, monologues to himself while you're playing, and it's all real sappy and like downdriven, like, "Oh, Caroline, I failed you, Caroline. I can only go on for so much longer." I'm like, come on,
Sweet-
man, I don't
Sweet
care.
Caroline?
Yeah, I hate to, I know someone out there's like, but it's so dramatic and well told and it's very heavy. Look, fine. I just want to shoot Nazis. I don't need the melodrama.
Yeah.
That's all. What I like about Doom, the first 30 seconds of the game, you wake up and there's a computer panel and the voice starts talking to you, trying to I'm the introductory story. I think if we blah, 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 you should really seek out this. And then the Doom guy grabs the screen and throws it away and then just starts marching towards the guns. Yes. Anyway, it's fine. I'm gonna keep playing. It'll be all right. So anyway, without belaboring things too much, that's roughly the weeks. How about you?
Relatively uneventful week. We had game night Friday night. We did, however, fail to neglect that after the false start, if you will, of the circus game. We did get some other games. We did. Yeah, we did King of Tokyo, which is classic. And then we did Knoxford again. And a much, much better,
drastically different experience with Knoxford this time.
Yeah, I'm really, really enjoying that game.
That's a fun one.
Yep. So then Saturday was the X-Wing tournament, in which the Devils Do sponsored a pop bonus prize, the Funko Pops.
How'd we do?
I went 2-2.
Okay.
I didn't place, but I'm perfectly happy with how I did because the organizer of the tournament, James, is a really good guy. He's really great organizer in the local community. He kind of set the tournament up. He's like, hey, there's monthly tournaments like this are typically tournaments you just do more fun builds with. You don't do necessarily high meta or super competitive builds. You just try out some different stuff. And he put out there he was having a contest for the most interesting build would get its entry fee back. So I brought what I thought was a really fun build, and the two matches I lost were to people who brought high meta ultra competitive lists. So I was like, I'm fine with that. So yeah, it was a good time.
But how did we do as sponsors?
That's fine. Everyone was very grateful for the pops, and I think we're going to be. I got some other stuff kicking around at home that we can help out with for X-Wing tournaments in the future. And we're going to be sponsoring some other tournament stuff coming up. Not so much in X-Wing, but in other arenas, and that's going to be announced coming soon.
Okay,
so to speak. We're going to have some guests on the show. We're going to be doing some fun things. But yeah, the tournament was a lot of fun. Just kind of chilled out for the rest of the day after the tournament. Sunday is kind of when I woke up with this. And it was much worse than it is now. This will probably not last me to the end of the week. I can tell when I'm going to get sick and it's going to be a haul. This is just an annoyance.
Make sure you rest up and don't allow it to become more than an annoyance, because that's usually my fault.
Yeah. Sunday, Julie and I continued on the road to Infinity War with Iron Man 2.
Iron Man 2, how did it hold up?
It's friggin' fantastic.
See, everyone craps on it.
I don't understand. Even back then, I don't understand the hate this movie gets.
I don't either. I didn't get it at the time either.
It's great. It's fun. Minor, it's so petty minor, but it always kind of just irks me the wrong way is Black Widow's hair when she shows up as Black Widow.
Yeah.
The ultra curled, laying down. No, you don't go into combat with this hair. You're a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent.
It only lasted one movie.
I know.
She upgraded dramatically very quickly.
Yeah, no, it's great. The opening and the Senate hearing with Gary Shandling.
Gary Shandling.
Fantastic. Sam Rockwell as Justin Hammer. It's great.
Sure.
Oscar nominated Sam Rockwell as Justin Hammer.
Not for that, but yeah.
No, yeah. So,
that would have been something.
Yeah. It's really cool. So next up is Thor.
All right.
That's one I'm interested to. The Thor franchise is probably the one I'm interested to revisit the most.
Okay.
So I think as individual franchises in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I kind of rank them Guardians, Captain America, Iron Man.
So Thor's kind of on the bottom of the
Thor's
franchises.
on the bottom.
Okay.
Thor's got 2 okay and 1 great.
That's
whereas, Iron Man has 2 great and 1 okay. Guardians got 2 friggin' fantastic.
fair. Yeah.
Cap's got 2 friggin' fantastics in it and a good.
The first one's good.
First one's good.
It's good.
It's fine.
But Civil War is like
Civil War. And
Winter Soldier's still
Winter
my top.
yeah.
Man, they really set the bar high on that one.
yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, looking forward
next
to
week
that.
is Thor. All right.
Yeah, next week is Thor. What else? Let me just grab my notes here. Thor.
Look at us being all proactive.
Did a lot of got a little mini review for us here.
Go on.
Did a lot of Street Fighter V Arcade Edition this week. Dear Capcom, in the future, just release this first.
So this is the way it was meant to be.
It is. So people were complaining, and I was one of them, that the initial release of Street Fighter was very bare bones, not a lot of features to it. Didn't have a standard arcade mode. It was catered very much to esports and professional players, which is strange because they wanted the mechanics to be very new user friendly. And every complaint was valid. It was, it probably should not have been a $60 game, but I'm in the bag for Street Fighter, so I'll just, shell out that money. And it was but this is, not only did they give us an arcade mode, they gave us the best arcade mode that's been in any Street Fighter game, possibly any fighting game ever.
Now, you said that the other night, and I don't know what you mean. How
Typical arcade mode is you start the arcade mode and you go through like a ladder of opponents.
Yeah.
You fight the end boss and you get a little like personalized ending. Right?
Historically.
Typically.
Yeah.
That's just like, I'm differentiating between arcade mode and story mode.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, because like I know Mortal Kombat got into like there was story mode and arcade modes where you'd pick the tower, you'd go up and whatnot.
Right.
I'm talking just arcade modes. This arcade mode, you pick, do you want to go through Street Fighter arcade mode, Street Fighter 2 arcade mode, Street Fighter 3 arcade mode, Street Fighter 4 arcade mode, or Street Fighter 5 arcade mode?
And the difference is?
For each mode, there are only characters selectable in the game, that mode, who were either in that game or you could tie to the story.
Now, okay.
Not only that, hold on a second. Not only that, the computer will, because a lot of the characters have alternate costumes, the computer will automatically select an alternate costume that best suits that era. So, like, if you're playing Street Fighter 1 and you're playing against Ryu, you fight a younger Ryu.
Okay.
So I've been going through, I'm up to Street Fighter 4, and I've been going through them with Ryu. Now, when you beat Street Fighter with Ryu, you get an ending. You beat Street Fighter 2 with Ryu, you get a different ending, an ending that's specific to, you get essentially his original arcade Street Fighter 2 ending. But it's all new artwork. Done by like fantastic artists. I think for Street Fighter 2's Ryu, it was the artwork for one of the main artists who's been doing did the Street Fighter comics for a while for Udon, and did a lot of the artwork for the HD remix of Street Fighter 2. So there's 5 different endings for Ryu, one for each arcade mode.
Now, by the way you explain that, does that mean that every character from every game is in this game?
Not.
So if I'm playing Street Fighter 2 mode, is everyone from Street Fighter 2 in that mode?
Not if they haven't been released to
5
yet.
Okay.
So missing characters from Street Fighter 2 from 5 currently are Blanca, E Honda, and Sagat.
Well, aren't two of those coming?
Blanca and Sagat are coming.
Poor E Honda.
Poor E Honda.
What happened?
I don't know.
Why we got to crap on E Honda?
He was a really strong character for the first half of the lifespan of Street Fighter 4. And he kind of tapered off at the end. He didn't really get the buffs he needed to stay competitive in the tournament scene. But it's fantastic. Like, it's it's easily the best arcade mode from any Street Fighter, probably from any fighting game.
Huh. Cool.
So that's really cool. There is Extra Battle, which is really cool. You can unlock unique awards. You can unlock costumes that you cannot purchase in stores. You can only get them through this. A lot of them are like Capcom throwback costumes. Like the first costume you can unlock is Beautiful Joe.
Hey.
The next costume is Captain Commando.
Who can wear these costumes?
Beautiful Joe is for Rashid, which is that fits.
Okay.
Captain Commando will be for Nash. And then
Not Guile?
Nope.
Okay.
Then so on and so forth. There's massive balance changes throughout the entire roster. Some characters have new moves. All characters have new V skills. So it's kind of relearning it again, which is part of the fun. So yeah, that was really enjoyable.
Cool.
That was kind of my weeks.
All right.
Dear listener, if you would like to tell us about your weeks, send us any questions or comments for the show. You can find us at the following social media locations. You can find us on Twitter at DevilsDuePod. You can go to Facebook.com/DevilsDuePod. You can email us at TheDevilsDuePod@gmail.com, or you can find all these resources available to you on our website, TheDevilsDuePodcast.com. Drew, that being said, we do have an email from Mr. Alan Waiters.
Oh, yeah.
Looks like Jay and Alan are tag teaming lately because we rarely get them both in the same week. All right. First question for both of us. Carl and Drew, do you think board games are bringing people closer together despite advanced technology and social media dividing people? How has the Euro-style board game changed how Americans view board games?
Interesting question, because Carl sent us that article from, was it HuffPo or from
that was
The
Alan.
Atlantic? Or
Alan sent us that.
Who did I say?
You said me.
That's right. Anyway, yeah, Alan sent that to us, and that was a good read, how the European game scene has kind of influenced the American game scene. And
Very
now
much so.
The American game scene is catching up to what's been going on in Europe for years. And I read that, and it was very much like the beer scene. Like, for years, America's beer was considered crap and lame, and then, the European influence kind of steeped in a little bit with the pale ale style, and then next thing you know, boom, America overcomes and takes over the beer world, so to speak. Board games, kind of the same thing right now. Do they bring us together? It seems that way.
Yeah,
I'm waiting for like the in-group communities of gamers to start fighting amongst themselves over perceived slights in the balancing of certain games. I'm sure it happens.
I've not seen anything like.
Give it time.
I don't know, maybe it happens in Magic or something. But
I could see it being a thing.
Yeah.
But
I think
it's cool.
Yeah, it's like I said, in the past couple of years I've enjoyed board games more than I've enjoyed video games, because board games have the couch co-op aspect to it. There's a social aspect to it that video games have kind of lost, and it's partially one of the reasons why I'm enjoying them. The other reason is just the sheer creativity. As far as different game mechanics that people find that they like or don't like, and new things that they discover, and it's a lot of fun, and just the variety out there dwarfs anything that's currently going on in video games right now.
And it's growing.
I think there was 2,500 games released last year.
Wow.
So yeah,
cool.
So it's kind of crazy. Good times though. Drew. Do you think that major third-party developers are afraid to launch new titles on the Switch and make them exclusive because Switch is inferior to the PS4 Xbox One in terms of graphics processing power? Clear example, Capcom stated there is no plans to release Monster Hunter World on Switch because of the Switch's processing power.
Well, Capcom is kind of full of it there, but the reason that's happening specific to Capcom is that game's been in development for like 4 years, and they did not have the Switch available to them when they started making it, so it wasn't really in the cards, and now that it's out, they're not going to do it now.
Yeah.
But
I think Monster Hunter on the Switch is only a matter of time.
I would say
because Monster Hunter lives and dies on the Game Boy or the
Yeah.
3DS, whatever.
Yeah, and Capcom being a Japanese company, and Nintendo being a Japanese company, and the Switch being a gargantuan success in Japan will heavily influence them to make some manner of that game for the Switch in a matter of time, I'm sure. Anyway, why do I think the third parties are afraid? The processing power, I think it's only a factor in that they don't want to allocate resources to developing a game from the ground up for multiple platforms.
Yeah.
So
you don't want to make the same game twice.
Right. The PS4 and the Xbox, they probably have the same rough architecture that the developers make it, and then they can port it to one or the other very easily, very quickly. The Switch being completely different, it's a little more of an involved process. The guys who did Doom, big ups, because they did a great job. But Doom is also id Software is also notorious for writing engines that are incredibly efficient and scalable. Not every developer does that.
Yep.
So it's a cost to benefit ratio. That's all it really is. It's going to cost a developer X amount to develop for two systems. Is he going to sell that many more copies on Switch to justify it? Well, probably not. But at the same time, the Switch is doing nothing but selling.
Yeah.
It's already outsold the Wii U's entire lifespan. It's got an install base.
Yeah.
So I say, third parties, put forth the effort, and you're going to get rewarded.
Here's the way I look at it. I didn't buy a Switch for games like Doom or, like, for example, Star Wars Battlefield or things like that.
Sure.
I have a PlayStation 4 for those games.
And that's a fair...
I bought the Switch for things that will be different.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think third-party developers should do. If you don't want to make the same game twice, that's understandable. From, business perspective, that makes sense. Do something different. Do like, Star Wars Battlefront Switch Edition, where it's a completely different game. Same kind of theory behind it, but don't try to make it the same game as what's coming out on PS4 and Xbox One. Do something different with it.
It's a valid school of thought. I like that school of thought in theory, but I'm also a big fan of a unified platform. So if I could just get everything for Switch, I would. That's me.
Okay. No, that makes sense. Okay, Carl, what did you want to be when you were growing up?
Aww.
What discouraged you from that career? How do you know I didn't achieve it? Damn, Alan.
You failed, Carl. Tell us how you feel about it.
What advice would you give to a person who gives up on his or her passion?
Took a dark turn.
Yeah, I think Alan's just kind of assuming my life is a failure, and that hurts. What do I want to be when I grow up? When I was a kid, being a kid when I was a kid, and Luke Skywalker piloting the X-wing, Doug Masters and Chappie Sinclair piloting the F-16. I wanted to be a fighter pilot when I was a kid. But math and I don't get along, and you need to be really smart to be a fighter pilot. But I mean,
ironic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Are you telling me Top Gun lied to me?
I'm telling you, as I've told you since the beginning of this podcast, that Iron Eagle is a superior jet fighter movie.
History's not backing you up, but okay.
As far as beyond that, I don't know, man. I didn't really have a set out to do X, Y, or Z in life, and that was, I think, in a lot of ways, clearly a detriment, and in some ways, it was a benefit. Originally, I went to college to be an English teacher, a high school English teacher, and then I realized I just like to write. So I switched from secondary education to English, and then, I realized I'm not a good college student. And then it just kind of, college didn't work out. I learned much more from the experience of college than I did from the classes of college. And just circumstances in life just kind of directed me different ways. But for someone who's made as many mistakes as I have, I don't think anyone has ever failed up as well as I have, because to be where I am right now, to have the incredible wife that I have and the amazing son that I have, I've got a good job that our needs are provided for. I couldn't ask for much more. As far as what advice would I give a person who gives up on their passions? My father said something to me that, of the many things my father said to me throughout my life that I wish I had paid attention to more, is don't be afraid to take a shot and fail. Don't be afraid, when you're young enough and, you don't have a lot to lose and you have the opportunity, take a chance on something. Take a risk on something. My father always said, you're young enough to make mistakes and have plenty of time to pay for them to go on and do other things. I really wish I had paid attention to that more. I played it safe a lot of times because I wanted to be there for my family and kind of be to help provide for the family. And, whether or not that's what he wanted for me, I'm sure he wanted more for me than that, but those were my choices, and they helped shape who I am today to bring me into that where I'm at today. But yeah, I would say don't give up on your passions. It's never too late for passion. It's never too late for doing something that you want to do. I wanted to do a podcast. I didn't have the technical know-how of how to do a podcast. I know Drew did, and I know Drew had experience doing a podcast, and I dragged him kicking and screaming into this experiment, and fortunately it's worked out. Do we have Casper mattress dollars rolling in? No, but
Casper mattress dollars.
Are we creating something that we're proud of week in and week out and putting it out there? Yes. If you're passionate about something, you're doing what you're passionate about, the level of quote unquote success that you achieve with it will not matter.
That said, Casper, we're here.
Yeah, I mean, Casper, if you want to throw us some shekels, I'll sleep on a Casper mattress. I'll do that 100-day free trial. I will. Yeah, Casper, Blue Apron, for what was the website development, the Foursquare, or is it what's
Squarespace?
Squarespace, yeah,
sure.
Squarespace, sure.
Do you have mesothelioma? You might have questions like, "What do I do? Who should I call?" Those guys, we could get them too.
Yeah. So yeah, don't give up on your passions. Understand what's most important to you, and understand also what's most important to you alongside your responsibilities. I have adult responsibilities in life, so there are certain things that have to get sacrificed to do those, but I sacrifice those gladly in order to be a better husband and a better father. But yeah, do what you're passionate about, and if you're doing it a way that satisfies you, then good on you.
Amen.
Oh yeah. All right.
Lucas wants in because he likes to drive us insane.
Here's Lucas.
All right. What's going on?
So that brings a close the cross-examination. We just had the email from Alan. And let's see here. So we've got the case files to go, and we've got some stuff to go over in the case files. Some different stuff's going on, so let's get to it. All right, Drew, we got a lot of stuff to talk about this week. A lot of this is, there's no dumpster fire stuff here. It's all good stuff.
Okay.
Let's start out with probably the biggest news story from the week, in which I think it was Thursday or Friday, Nintendo dropped Labo.
Oh, the Labo.
The Labo. Okay, so.
Yeah.
This is the thing. I'm going to describe this the best I can. It is a series of cardboard constructs that you assemble.
Yep.
That kids will make their parents assemble and parents will hate.
Creative parents will enjoy it.
And you implement your Switch into this to play a series of mini games.
You can make a remote-controlled car. You can make
a fishing rod,
a piano, a giant robot suit. Apparently,
yes.
I saw a kick pedal with like a drum kit.
Yep. Motorcycle. Did you say that already?
I didn't, maybe, but it's flexible.
I have two different schools of thought on this, but I will defer to the man who loves Nintendo.
This is like the most Nintendo thing to Nintendo.
Yeah.
And I mean that in both good and bad. Here's the thing. I think it's actually pretty brilliant. I had no idea it was coming. No one did. It was completely out of left field.
Shocked, I tell you. No, I'm just joking.
Completely out of left field.
Yeah.
Like, who would have even thought that like Nintendo's working on this super secret cardboard thing? No one would have believed you. No, they're doing it. Here's the thing. It's not for me. This is not something I'm going to get into.
Okay.
But for kids who are into creative hobbies and construction kind of hobbies, Legos and Bionicle and that kind of stuff, I can see this being very much up their alley. And likewise, parents of kids who are into that stuff and parents who are also curious and into that stuff as well. It's super neat. I can't deny its sheer bonkers aspect, but it's not totally out of the blue in a way, because I've been seeing in the last couple of years, like, I see the occasional article on a video game site here or there, like, look what so-and-so made out of cardboard at home. And they make like cardboard weapons, like, here's an M16 made out of cardboard, and it looks, and it's super detailed, and it's like cardboard craft is like a thing.
Yep.
Nintendo is somehow picked up on this weird thing and like Nintendo-fied it by about 80%. Okay, go for it. Sure. I'm not going to buy it, but I respect it though, because it's a very creative, interesting concept, and I think the more you can get people to use their brains and build things and expand their ideas of what is possible with things, the better. So I kind of admire it for that, and I hope it does well, I guess. I don't know what to make of it exactly, because again, it's not really for me.
Yeah. I have two perspectives on it. The first perspective is that, like you said, this is not for me. This is for kids.
Yeah.
And I think
which they said before they announced it.
Yeah. Like this.
We'll get to that in a second.
Yeah. This is for kids. And I think a lot of, I get some of the fan frustration with this, because there are people who have a Switch and they love their Switch and they want more content for it.
There's a lot of content out there.
There is a lot of content, but they want more. They want, like, the big game announcements, whatnot. And I get that. But not everything, like, not even everything on the PlayStation 4 is for me. There's going to be things that come out on Nintendo that just aren't for you. And that's fine, especially if it's something for kids. I think there is a little bit of genius in it, where Nintendo's going, what was the one constant best toy throughout your childhood? It was the cardboard box. What did you play with the most as a kid? It was a cardboard box. Tip of the hat to Nintendo. That's pretty freaking genius right there. And like every time I think of something to say against it, for lack of a better term, I just counter with, this is not for me.
Mm-hmm.
So here's where I fall on the other spectrum. I'm a little concerned about the price point of it. It's $60 for one kit and $70 for another kit.
In the one kit, though, you get like 4 kits.
That's true.
It's a big bundle.
And the game.
Right.
So
you're getting software and the ability to construct multiple things.
So I think...
You know what Legos cost nowadays?
Oh, yeah.
There's no software there. That's just plastic.
No, I think that okay, if you're telling me that this, when you get this thing, you break out these sheets with the cardboard stuff that you pop out and assemble. If that sheet that you popped out of the cardboard, if you can keep that and use that as a template to
make multiples?
Yes, because cardboard is great, but it's not durable. It's not meant for long-term abuse that kids will tend to give something.
That's the genius of it. They can sell you more.
Yeah, I thought about that. I was like, is this Nintendo's version of microtransactions? You got to keep going back and buying more cardboard.
Hey, at least in this, you get something tangible.
I think, I really hope that the stencils, for lack of a better phrase, that the cardboard that initially comes with it come out can be reused, and you could just like when the fishing rod wears down, you can just use the stencil to take a regular cardboard box. I hope that. The other thing is, parents are going to hate this thing because this stuff is extremely intricate in its assembly.
Well,
there's like levers and pulleys and stuff like that, and kids are going to make their parents assemble that, and they're going to hate it.
Well, maybe they shouldn't be such lazy parents then.
Don't throw that stone, because I remember being a kid and having many toys to assemble that kind of made my parents assemble.
I did my own. I built my own G.I. Joe vehicles and play sets and whatnot.
Once I got to that age, I did, but like a lot of the early Star Wars stuff, I was just like, put it together for me. It's because I was also spoiled brat.
Well, there is that to contend with.
So it will be interesting to see where they go with it.
I think it's going to be a big hit. Calling it now. It's going to be a big hit. Kids are going to want it.
Hot take. Drew says Nintendo's new product is going to be good.
Spoiler alert. There were so many people that thought that they were every single thing this company has done for the last 15, 20 years. They're done. They're doomed. Nope. They're doomed.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying I'm interested to see what's going to happen. You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of tablets when they first came out. Because I looked at tablets, I went, that's really cool. Where is it going to fit in? What's its place going to be? And clearly we see how tablets have fit in. So
tablets are dying
because this has the potential to open up a whole new area of games that the Switch can do.
Yeah,
or it could be Wii Music.
I don't think it's gonna. No, I don't think.
Did you get Wii Music?
No, because I knew it was garbage from the moment I laid eyes on it. This is different. This is much different. I think this will be much more successful than the Wii Music. But you know, we'll see. It's not targeted to me.
Yeah,
and
it's not for us.
No, and this is where, again, remember what I said about fans? How they're the worst. Man, in the days leading up to that event of the unveiling of the Labo, Nintendo came out and said, number one, this is a mini announcement. This is not a direct.
Yeah.
So, okay. So it's like, hey, sit down. We're gonna show something off. I want to
our expectations.
I want to tell you right now what it is so that you know, and you know.
Yeah.
Number one, it's not a direct. Number two, it's for kids. They said it's for kids and those who are kids at heart. That's what they said. What people somehow...
They even gave something to the air quotes hardcore gamers earlier in the week when they got like the Mario Tennis and the Donkey Kong Country re-release.
Oh, right. Yeah, and the little mini direct. Yeah. So, why, knowing that, are fans, after this thing gets unveiled, screaming from the rooftops, I wanted Smash Brothers, and they deserve, it should be Grand Theft Auto, cardboard. Oh, man.
They got these pretzels here. It's $5.
Oh, my God. What a good pull. Oh, my God.
Marge, you got a butt that won't quit.
That's good. Oh, you caught me by surprise there.
That's the most I've ever made you laugh.
I love that. That's just I can hear it in my head now, and that's great.
All right.
Yeah.
Drew,
Yeah.
moving on.
Okay.
Two very old friends of ours are finally getting married.
Are they
The
now?
wedding's in June.
I'm booked in June. So
Marvel Comics announced
Oh.
earlier this week that Kitty Pryde and Pietro Rasputin, aka Shadowcat and Colossus, will finally be getting married in a June issue of X-Men.
well, she's legal now, so it's okay now. Finally.
Oh, we won't. focus on that.
That's not well and how things started.
Yeah.
Good. That's cool.
You know what? For all the mess that X-Men is, both in comics and in film, something like this has the potential to remind us why we love X-Men. Why we loved X-Men.
Yeah.
This is really cool, something I might pick up. So yeah, hopefully it won't go the way of,
The rest of Marvel's marriages.
yeah.
Spidey, Cyclops, and Jean.
Oh, God. One more day still hurts.
Yeah.
Brand new day still hurts.
I know. I feel
Really still hurts. You know, Spidey's dating Mockingbird right now.
sure.
Sure.
Good job. How does Hawkeye feel about this?
I'm sure.
Well, they're divorced, so yeah, I guess it doesn't matter.
Okay, so Drew,
Yeah.
I know this came as a surprise to you earlier in the week. There is apparently a new RoboCop in the works.
Allegedly.
Not only is there a new RoboCop in the works, but it is coming from the screenwriter of the original RoboCop.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
is going to ignore everything past RoboCop 1.
Yeah. And it's not a reboot. It's a sequel.
No, it's a sequel.
This
Weller.
I
Get in the suit.
don't think Mr. Weller is gonna be able to do it, but
He can be Batman. He can be RoboCop again.
I mean, are we gonna digitally recreate Peter Weller and just have him voice it? I could see that maybe. In any case, okay. Where do you go with that concept? I mean, here's the thing.
It's weird because we're now living in the world that RoboCop 1 depicted.
Basically, yes, minus the robot cops and whatnot.
Yeah, I feel kind of gypped there. I mean, if you're going to put me in a dystopian, future, at least give me the robot cops.
Yeah, and the artificial heart
I want my damn jetpack.
and Nukem.
Nuke.
No, not that was 2. The game from first Nukem.
Oh, okay.
Get them before they get you. That's it, mister. No more military aid. You crossed my zone of death. Pakistan's threatening my border. I've seen RoboCop a few times. Anyway, if the screenwriter Ed Neumeyer, I think is the guy.
I believe so.
If he writes it with the same satirical bite that the original had, plus the action, obviously, but the satire and the witty commentary really is the star of RoboCop 1. The action's great.
Yeah.
It all, man, it's such a perfect storm of a movie.
It really is.
That's why it's really hard to make a sequel to it that can live up. If they can do that, then it could be great. And not to mention, I think the potential is there for a lot of interesting angles. Like you said, RoboCop 1, like, we kind of live in it now. In fact, you could argue it's worse now than it was in RoboCop 1.
Still better than living in Demolition Man's future.
Fair enough. On top of that, you got the issue of, cops, I guess, in the 21st century. A lot of police scrutiny in the past few years with, with the riots and whatnot. And, there's some fertile ground there that they could maybe make a statement about if they chose, if the studio would be so brave to do it. Not saying to take a side per se, but there's things that we could be discussed there. Technology, man versus machine, obviously is still obviously a prevalent theme. It's inherent with the franchise, and now with digital technology coming as far as it has, like the nature of like RoboCop being outdated and old and busted, and like where does he fit in now? Because he's already a dead man, so he's already lost his humanity. So now he's also technically outdated and for all lack of a better term, dead there too. Like interesting, some interesting ideas there. If you go to RoboCop Archive on the interwebs, throw it in your Google machine, kids. They have a treatment for RoboCop 2 that Ed Neumeyer wrote that was supposed to be the sequel to RoboCop back in the 80s. It was a little too ambitious at the time for what they were ready to do back then, what MGM was willing to do back then. And I'm curious if he'll recycle any of the ideas in there, because one of his ideas in it basically was that RoboCop gets destroyed in the first 5 minutes of the movie, and he wakes up and his consciousness has been uploaded into a internet, for lack of a better term.
Okay.
And he wakes up 60 years in the future, and everything's different. And he gets built a new body, and he's kind of being used as a pawn between different corporations and corporate espionage and corporate overlords and whatnot. So I wonder how much of that will bleed into whatever he's coming up with now, because there's, in a way, he was way ahead of his time when they were writing that back then. So I'm curious what they would do with it now.
Frank Miller wrote the RoboCop 2 script.
The one that was,
the one that was used, but I guess they altered it radically.
Too. Yes.
Which is why it took so much convincing from Robert Rodriguez to get Frank Miller to sign off on a Sin City movie.
Yeah. RoboCop 2 was a very troubled production, and it's fun and enjoyable, but as a fan of the original, it's not the same movie. It tries, but it largely fails to elicit the same reaction.
It's got bad dudes in it.
It does have bad dudes in it, and it does have some cool effects and fight scenes and its own memorable moments. But RoboCop 1, man, is just such a it is lightning in a bottle. It really is lightning in a bottle. Everything about that movie is just amazing. I love the idea of a sequel to it. Me and Jay Gelsomino were big into Josh Williamson's RoboCop series from Dynamite or Boom Studios, I think, that did it. And the Williamson series was likewise a sequel to the original movie, and he kept the tone and the look and the aesthetic and the ideas very much in line with the first movie grounding. Yeah, and it was cool. It was pretty cool. So I'm all for more RoboCop, man. Especially if we can wipe the slate clean from the reboot attempt.
Yes, and the third one.
Yeah. We less said there, the better.
Reboot better in the third one.
Ooh. Yeah. And you know what?
The third one was basically, what toys can we get out of this?
Yeah, kind of. And I don't feel, to be honest, I don't even feel bad saying it, because by 3, Weller was gone, Verhoeven was long gone.
Yeah.
The writers were long gone. So, yeah, it was a shell of itself.
Alrighty, so hopefully that will come to fruition, because right now it's just in development. Hopefully they know there's an audience out there for that.
I'll go see it.
I will too.
All right,
that being said, we get to what was probably the most enjoyable and biggest surprise news of the week. Drew, look up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane.
I'm looking.
It's Red Trunks.
Oh, the Trunks.
It was announced earlier this week by DC Comics that for Action Comics 1000, Superman's Red Trunks will return. And they released pictures. I'm not sure if they're final pictures of the costume, but Superman 1000 or Action Comics 1000 apparently is a big issue for numerous reasons. Obviously, first comic to reach 1000 issues. Return of the Trunks, and also I guess this will be Brian Michael Bendis's first DC work.
Sure is.
But let's talk about the Trunks.
Let's talk about underwear on the outside.
I'm very happy about this.
I
didn't hate the redesign as much as some, but just seeing the new drawings coming out, like they've been inching more towards a more classic Superman over the past couple of years.
Yes.
With Rebirth,
Yes,
everything they've been doing. Superman was surprisingly to me, as I know was to a lot of people, Superman was my title of the year last year. And this just seems to be another big step in the right direction.
As soon as I saw it, my immediate thought was, I'm buying it. I'm buying the issue for the Trunks alone. I'm not even kidding. It just looks like Superman. It just looks right. I saw the picture. I'm like, hey, that's Superman. Like, where you been, man? I've been here looking for you. There's another guy running around with a collar and a big blue void in the midsection, and I didn't know who it was, but look at you. There's Superman. I'm in. Looks cool. I'm very happy. It's Superman. Look, you can tell me up, any way you want that it looks silly and that it, whatever. That's all it really comes down to is, oh, it looks silly. That doesn't hold water. Here's why. Superman is the first superhero. He is the model for the whole thing. He can wear trunks and look normal because that's just how he looks.
Yeah.
It just is. And it's one of those Spider-Man situations where nailed it the first time. We don't gotta mess with this. We got it.
Yeah.
It just, granted, his original outfit did evolve over time, but the trunks were there all along.
Yeah.
It just works. It works from a design like, again, I've said this before. As a design element, it works. It breaks up this monotonous blue color. You need something to break that up. They tried with the belt, and it
wasn't enough.
Not enough. The trunks just give it flair. It just suddenly pops. Suddenly it works.
Yep.
Your eyes are less drawn to his crotch with the trunks on than when they're off. I don't know why. It's just the way it is. It's science.
It's crotch science.
It's right. I've studied crotch science, Carl. And before you want to, that's right. Let that lie there for a minute. And before you say, oh, it's underwear on the outside, it's silly, you have to, again, do we not know the origins of why they're there? They're not there because, like, he doesn't know how to dress himself. They're there because in the 1930s, when Superman was created, the only frame of reference that they wanted to use, the frame of reference that they wanted to get across is that Superman is a strong character. Strong guys at that time were like circus strongmen.
Circus strongmen.
Circus strongmen did wear leotards and spandex, but the fabrics at the time were not the most reliable, and when they did have a weak point, being the seams usually, it was going to be in the crotch area. So if they're performing at a show, lifting heavy things and whatnot, they didn't want their goods to be exposed, so they wore a garment over their leotards, hence the visual shorthand with Superman's trunks. It gave people an immediate frame of reference, like, this guy is strong. And because he is the first superhero, and that's what we associate with superheroes, he should always have them. It's just part of his gimmick. And if you can find a way to make me believe that he wears a cape, he's powered by the sun, he can shoot beams out of his eyes, and he can, fly faster than anything ever and turn back time and whatnot, then I'm willing to believe that his culture says, this is what we wear. Here's your costume. By the way, there's undies on the outside. Fine.
Yep.
Welcome back, Superman.
He's been back for a little bit. I mean, the guy wore the collar.
The collar. That was
Rebirth.
The first thing that had to go. I'm glad it's gone.
And just, they've really brought back the character And a side note to this, the latest issue of Superman came out this past week. I believe it was 39. Not lying to you, not exaggerating. Probably the best single issue of a comic book I have read in years.
Wow.
Not only that, it had me in tears multiple times.
Oh, dear.
This comic defined why we read superheroes. It's a very non-comic book story. It's a very someone might look at it and go, it's cheesy. It is a story that has been done before. The last time I remember doing is, remember the large format books that Paul Dini and Alex Ross did years back?
Yes.
The Captain Marvel book, Shazam book, did a story very similar to this. Basically, the story opens up with Superman. There are these, insert supervillain XYZ here. I think they're just kind of they're called the Demolition Crew. Very, very much, not in Superman's league at all. They're basically just there to facilitate the beginning of the story.
Okay.
So Superman dispatches them fairly quickly, and at one point he's flying up and he stops outside the window of a hospital. And it's the children's section of the hospital, and they do a good job of communicating that, these are kids with terminal illnesses. These are kids with cancer and things like that. Superman stops in and says hi, and then a couple pages later, you see Superman's talking to the parents and saying things like, our paramount concern is safety. We really want to do this for them. They will be absolutely safe. You have my word on it. Next page, big splash page, Superman returns to the hospital with Green Lantern, who's flying a space shuttle construct. Superman and Green Lantern fly these kids up to the Justice League watchtower to meet the Justice League. And the whole issue is just these kids who could never have dreamed of experiencing this, these kids who have come to terms with the fact that they're not going to lead a full life and that their passing is going to happen relatively soon, just getting to spend this time with the Justice League.
The Justice League or John Cena?
No, the Justice League. And
they're doing their best John Cena impression.
Well, no, I mean, I get what you're saying, but it's just incredibly done. And it, as a father, to think of William possibly, but for the grace of God goes me and my son. It worked on that level. It just worked on the level of heroes being heroes in the best possible way. And the best possible way for these heroes to be heroes is not necessarily punching out a criminal, but it's giving hope. Hope is a word that gets thrown around kind of cheaply nowadays, but this is truly what superheroes are meant to do. And just the way they do it is fun. It's fantastic. Like, they do a scavenger hunt. Superman gives the kids a scavenger hunt. Find Superman's cape, find, XYZ. The last thing on the scavenger hunt is get a picture of Batman smiling. And it's just like, you've got Flash running kids around a kid in a wheelchair. He's running him around the watchtower.
Doesn't sound safe.
It's fantastic. I would highly recommend next time you're in a comic shop, pick it up, because I'm sure it's not going to be flying off the shelves. It's incredible. It might be the perfect issue of Superman.
All right.
So, yeah, definitely check that out. I think it's Superman 39. I'm not. You know what? I'm going to look it up, because if anyone out there is inspired to pick up a comic book, this would be the one to do that. Wow, my voice is really...
Yeah, let's not belabor things if we can.
So, I believe that does it for the news.
All right.
Is there anything else you can think of, sir?
No, top of my head, I'm good. The RoboCop thing was kind of my big mamma jamma for the week.
Yeah, that was I saw that. I was like, oh.
Me and Jay Gelsomino we are excited.
Yes, much excited. Where is it? Oh, you know what?
As he hunts for the Superman issue.
One other thing, I saw a television commercial for comic books this week. I was channel surfing, and there was something on Sci-Fi, and I just kind of stopped on it, and I can't remember what it was. You know what? I think it might have been Thor. Superman 39.
Okay.
His number. So if you get a chance, pick up Superman 39. And there was a television commercials for DC Comics touting their new line of characters they're coming out with. I'm going to say something I didn't think I would be saying anytime soon.
Yeah.
DC is beating Marvel in comics in pretty much every way. They're creating new stuff. They're bringing their characters back to form, and their individual books are great. If someone asked me which one I'd recommend going into now at the current states, I would say go into DC Comics. They're just they seem to be hitting on all cylinders.
Well, took long enough after the new 52 fiasco.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens with Marvel, because like I think we said on the show before, as great as that is, that DC is out there doing good work, so goes Marvel, so goes the comics biz. So we kind of need Marvel to right that ship, otherwise the whole thing is going to kind of drift.
I think Marvel is trending up, and not as rapidly as DC.
No, they're still in the midst of the editorial shakeup and whatnot, so they have some work to do, and I think they're going to get on top of it, and we'll see what the plan is. We haven't seen it yet.
Yeah,
I know Legacy's happening right now, but that's not the big move. That's a move.
Yeah,
the big moves are coming, so we'll see.
Are you caught up on Cap?
Yes, I am.
How are you liking the new?
Weird. It's good.
Okay, I'm not caught up, but I know they're up to like issue 3 right now.
Yes, yeah, the third. Well, it's 690 whatever, but yeah. Yes, it's weird because every issue is kind of self-contained.
Yeah,
and it's just
we're not used to that anymore.
No, it's just like quick bang bang superhero comics, and there's not a whole ton of meat on the bones, so to speak.
That's okay though.
It's a good writing of the ship, as kind of like I just said, but I kind of want more. Like, I need my Cap to be a little more storyline driven, and like, I don't know. It's good. It's good. It's good. It's good. But I need a little more.
Yeah, after the ringer Cap's been through, let's let him take a bit of a breather.
This is a perfectly fine, like, kind of let's get some feel goods in.
Yeah.
Fine. At some point, can we get like, okay, now what?
Yeah. Can I say one thing I love that both DC and Marvel have gone back to? It's a little thing, but I love it. Corner boxes.
Yeah.
Corner boxes. Such a little thing. So insignificant in the grand scheme of comics. But what I mean when I say corner boxes, folks, the box in the upper left-hand corner traditionally has like a little piece of artwork separate from the cover and the number of the issue that you're looking at. Largely, these have been absent from comics since the late 90s, early 2000s, but DC and Marvel are doing them again. I think it's great.
I can take or leave. It's nice. It's a nice little nod to the past.
Yes. Alrighty. That's the end of the news, and by the sounds of it, it looks like it's going to be the end of my voice soon. So let us get to... Yeah, that was a rough one. Let's get to the latest issue. Boy, it's going to be a slog to the end here, folks. We're going to do it for you. Latest episode of The Punisher. It's Rustle them papers.
Alrighty. This is episode 5, is it not?
It is.
All right.
And the episode is titled Gunner.
Okay. So I noticed a theme in this episode, Carl.
What's that?
Trust.
Trust
amongst all of our players here. So we've got Sam and Madani, tension in that relationship.
Yep.
We've got Frank and Micro, tension in that relationship.
They're having a little bit of lover spat.
A little bit. We've got Karen and Frank. Also kind of...
Yeah, not the tension we want in that relationship.
Not exactly. Well, I mean, I guess we can get to that, I suppose. I guess ultimately...
Wherever you want to start, Amigo.
We can... my notes are linear, but I can kind of go all over the place.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Frank and Karen thing. I'm grateful, at least up through episode 10 or 11 I'm up to now. I think 10. Something else happens later on. No spoilers just yet, folks. We'll get to that.
You talking about the elevator?
Yes.
Yeah.
They didn't go as far as I feared they would.
Yeah.
But the whole thing just still feels a little forced.
That's the end of it, though.
Okay.
Yeah, it
then
doesn't.
Good.
I don't feel like I'm spoiling anything for you there. That's pretty much the end of it.
Okay. In that case, good.
I got worried.
Yes.
I'm not gonna lie. I got real worried.
So let's bring the worries to this episode,
because this is kind of going back to like old studio thinking of how superhero stuff needs to be done. There's got to be a love interest.
Right.
If there's no love interest, what?
Well, don't worry, Carl, because there is another in this series that they kind of tease a bit, and we'll get to that as well when the time comes. But this Karen thing, I still struggle with Karen's like acceptance and like protection of Frank. Even in Daredevil season 2, it felt a little not tacked on, but it's just like, look, it's a little forced. Like,
I don't think it necessarily. To me, it doesn't feel forced. To me, it feels like her affection and protection of Frank is stemming from something about Karen that we have not learned about her yet.
Okay.
In the show, anyway.
All right.
Obviously, we know of Karen's history in the comics, but as far as like stuff in the show, I think her affection and protection of Frank stems from something we haven't learned yet.
And given her penchant for bad boys, it might also have to do with why she also likes Matt. We'll see.
Yeah, but from her perspective, is Matt really a bad boy?
Oh yeah, she knows what he does at night.
Well, she knows now.
Yeah, she does now, but that just makes her want him more, probably. So yeah, I could do without that angle, but like if you said that's as far as it goes later on, then fine. I'm okay with it. I don't like it necessarily, but they don't. It doesn't become the huge glaring distraction that I feared it would leading up into the series. Before it was released.
Had they pulled the trigger on that,
I would have been out.
I think it would have killed the series.
I would have checked out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
You can't. In my opinion, you just can't.
Yeah.
Frank can't do that. So, Madani is hiding the fact that she knows Frank is alive. She's hiding that from her superiors. She was initially hiding it from her partner, Sam.
Yeah.
She tells him that information. So now he's got a big worm on a hook.
Because there's an official inquiry as to what went down at the docks.
Right.
A lot of guns went missing.
Yes, they did. And later in the episode, Sam, when put in the crosshairs of the investigators, covers for her.
Yep.
So, again, trust forged now between these two characters.
This is a relationship that I think they developed really nicely throughout the series.
Yeah.
I didn't quite like the character Sam at first, but he grew on me.
Sure.
In which I think he's intended to.
He's not this hell-bent, driven, intense character like everyone else in the show is.
Yeah.
He's more, he's got his job to do, and he accepts that.
Yep.
But he's also pragmatic, and he knows that, covering up what he knows now is going to put him in the crosshairs eventually. He will, now he knows this will come down on him if anything goes wrong. So there is a trust built up right now between him and Madani. Micro and Frank have the lover spat, and Frank is helping out Micro's wife.
Yeah.
This whole little relationship is kind of interesting. Micro's kid, his son, continues to be a jerk.
Yep.
Daughter's nice, though.
Daughter is nice. I think I kind of ultimately like what they did with Micro's family and Frank, because it starts out, it's just a measurement of leverage that Frank has on Micro.
Right.
and then it turns to be almost a safe place for Frank. It's where Frank can kind of separate himself from the Punisher and remind himself
of what he had.
He once was.
Yeah.
At the same time, I think it serves a double purpose in that not only does it remind him who he once was, but also reminds him why he is doing what he's doing now.
To a degree, yeah, that's fair. And I also think, though, it is reinforcing to him why he doesn't want people involved with him.
Yeah.
So here he is with Micro's family. Later in the episode, he doesn't want Micro to go on this mission to find the guy who shot the footage that got Frank and Micro in all this trouble to begin with. To find Gunner. He doesn't want Micro's help. He doesn't want Karen's help. He wants these people as far away from him as possible because he sees what they have and he knows that he no longer has any place in that anymore. His world is far too violent and messed up, and family life just is not his world anymore. Even though we get these glimpses of it.
We finally get back to some action in this episode.
Oh, do we? So, yeah, Gunner doesn't want to be found.
No.
So he's got the whole place tripwired and it's like the end of Predator.
Exactly. Come on, I'm here. Kill me. I'm here.
So Frank and there's a little misunderstanding at first.
Yeah, Frank gets an arrow through the chest.
Yeah.
Or through the shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
that was just rude.
Yeah. Gunner's a bad host.
Offer the guy a cup of tea or something before you shoot him with an arrow.
But I mean,
I'm not saying don't shoot him with the arrow. I'm just saying we can still be civil and shoot each other with arrows.
Yeah. Sure. Why not? Sure. But they're not alone.
No. They got the hit team sent in by William Rollins.
Yeah.
He gives a big old resounding pro-CIA speech.
Yeah, the speech. Here's the thing. It was a good speech.
I think that speech defines his personal philosophy and motivation.
Absolutely.
Because he doesn't strike me as a character who, just reads a pre-prepared speech. I think that speech legitimately came from his perception of what is right and what he does.
Sure. Well, all the great villains think that they're justified and correct. Right, story. Exactly. My only gripe with that speech, he gives this big speech. He's in this room full of CIA recruits or newbies or whatever. I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that they know who he is, right?
Yeah.
He gives this big speech, and then he goes, "My name is William Rollins. Welcome to the CIA." People don't talk like that.
Yeah.
And that's just... And
you start the conversation with that.
Right. And I know they just do it for dramatic effect, and it's just, part of screenwriting.
Yeah.
But that kind of stuff drives me nuts. You know what I really hate? Granted, in this case, he's a nobody as far as, he's not a character that I've seen in comics or anything like that.
Yeah.
I'm just more picking on the delivery of the line. But what I hate even more is when we see in a prequel or something like that, or characters we do know, where someone on screen has to overtly tell you that these two characters are on screen together. For example, Star Wars prequels, terrible movies, but they had to have that moment where someone was like, "Anakin Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi." Yeah, we know. That moment is just and then Batman versus Superman. When Lex Luthor's at the party.
Don't remind me.
We know, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, Bruce Wayne meets Clark Kent. And it's like, yeah, we know.
We get it.
You don't have to spell it out we're idiots. We know. We can take in the moment without you having to say it.
Yeah.
But that's, anyway, I digress. We're off the beaten path. Rollins is a bad dude because he's also Agent Orange, and he's also got Madani's office bugged, and he's also sending a hit squad after Frank because he knows that Frank is looking for Gunner. How does he know that? Because Madani is also looking for Gunner.
Yep. And he's getting awards from Maid Marian.
Yeah, so the Abyss girl got old.
No, she played Maid Marian in the Kevin Costner Robin Hood.
And she was also in the Abyss. It's very Elizabeth Mastrantonio.
And she's playing a character here named Marian.
Oh. Okay. Like in her contract or something when she does movies? My character has to be named Marian. It's part of the gig.
No, she still looks fine.
I know, but I was kind of like, is that her? Oh, I'm old.
I'm old.
You're
so mean. So yeah, Frank and Gunnar not having a good time in the forest.
No.
The action at this point when I watched it through the first time, the action was definitely welcome in this episode because there had been a steep,
lack of it.
Yes. But this second time around seemed a lot like we had talked about last week. Last week's episode seemed to be more like establishment and setup.
Yeah.
I think you could have taken last week's episode 3 or episode 4 and episode 5 and just trimmed a lot of fat and made one episode.
Maybe. I hear what you're saying about the last episode 4, but in this one, I felt like this one pretty much holds together pretty tightly on its own. Everything that everything it does is purposeful, and it sets itself up pretty nice.
Yeah, no, I see that too. I just think
the last episode definitely though we could have trimmed some fat out of that for sure.
So we get to the end of the episode. I think we're just kind of shooting through this one because
you're hurting here.
My voice
honestly,
is running on E.
We've covered the big themes here.
Something else I want to talk about is Madani and Russo.
Yes,
at the end of the episode.
Yes,
get together, and we have what's kind of been established in like Luke Cage and Jessica Jones
coffee?
as we have coffee.
Yeah, we have some coffee.
Here's my problem with this series is we have a little too much coffee in this series. Because this kicks off like I don't think
there's like a 3-episode stretch where we have a lot of coffee.
Yeah,
we're caffeinated. I
don't think it's necessary to. And granted, a lot of this is coming from my spiritual beliefs and whatnot, what I like to view and not view. I don't think it's necessary in a series like this to show that as much as they do. Even though there's nothing to like explicit shown, I think ultimately you're still doing, a Marvel character. I think there's ways you can communicate that while not showing what they did.
I'm not as I share that sentiment often when watching certain things because it's kind of like, okay, we can kind of tame this down a little bit. I think in this show anyway, given the characters that we're talking about, Russo and Madani, I think it's almost kind of necessary in the glimpses that we do get because she's damaged and she is trying to find solace in the wrong places.
Yeah.
So you kind of need to get established that. And on top of that, spoilers, folks, this relationship is developed, and I think you need to show that development and what it's based on because that will come into play later when things don't go so smoothly. I hear where you're coming from.
Yeah, I
don't necessarily disagree, but it's not that bad.
I think a scene of her slipping a stocking onto one of her legs with him laying in bed with a sheet over him, no shirt on, is just as effective and not as graphic. But again, this is me.
No, it's fine. I'm sympathetic to that. Things like that do typically stick out to me. In this show, for some reason, I'm not as bothered by it. I don't know why that is. It just doesn't. It didn't irk me as much.
All right, I'm trying to think of what else from this episode.
Micro's not a very good friendly sandwich maker to his friends.
that was Frank.
Did you make me one?
Frank was pissed about that sandwich.
Frank, buddy, it's okay. You're just eating tuna fish.
All the stuff was in the fridge, Frank.
Yeah,
you just gotta look in the fridge.
But that kind of pays off later. By the way,
I'm your partner, not your mom.
Yeah. That's okay. Frank will return the favor later on.
Yeah.
Spoilers. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
I don't have a whole lot more to say about this episode. This episode's largely focused on trust and our relationships between characters. And Karen's kind of in the crossfire a little bit of Madani, because obviously she knows that Frank's out there and alive, but Madani doesn't know that. Karen knows that, but we're feeling it out. But that doesn't really go anywhere later on. Like, Karen and Madani's kind of thing dissipates a little bit.
Again, I think that's one of the things that maybe could have trimmed from this episode.
Possibly, but we need all these expository scenes where Karen relays how she feels Frank is and yada yada. So
we had that at the waterfront.
I know.
All right. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't want less of Karen. I like Karen.
I like her too, but I don't. I go back to Daredevil. Let's get Frank rolling here.
All right, folks. We're gonna cut this one kind of short for obvious reasons. My voice is about to give out on me. Appreciate you stopping by again. If this is your first episode, welcome. We hope
he doesn't always sound like this.
Yeah, I don't always sound like this. I sound much better when we usually go a little bit longer on the episode, the Punisher episode itself, or whatever show we're doing. So for those of you maybe are joining us from different things we've done as far as, the X-Wing sponsorship or stuff we've mentioned on Facebook and whatnot, welcome. Thank you for joining us. If you would like to send any questions or comments to the show, you can do so at the following locations. You can find us on Twitter at Devils Do Pod. You can go to facebook.com/DevilsDoPod. You can email us at thedevilsdopod@gmail.com, or you can find all these resources available to you on our website, thedevilsdopodcast.com. That being said, Drew, any closing thoughts?
No. Get yourself a lozenge of some kind. Cherry, honey lemon.
Yes.
Something.
More than you can imagine, Optimus Prime.
Oh, God.
I would have waited an eternity for this. It's over, Prime.
I can't top that.
I got a good Megatron going.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Got some good Welker going. All right, folks. Thank you very much for stopping by. Court.